All right. UPSC aspirants, you ready for today's deep dive?
Ready when you are?
Okay, cool. We're tackling a topic that's almost guaranteed to be on your exam.
Oh, yeah.
The debate around language and education policy in India.
The big one.
Yeah, specifically the concerns about Hindi imposition that have been kind of swirling around the national education policy.
Right.
This issue hits on so many key themes for your prep. Indian polity, social justice, cultural diversity.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a gold mine for your essays and interviews.
Absolutely. And this is not just like a, flash in the pan thing. It's got deep roots
Oh, for sure.
in Indian history and continues to be super relevant
Totally.
today. And we'll be drawing on a recent article from the Hindu to guide our discussion today.
Awesome. Yeah, make sure to check out the link in the show notes.
For sure.
So to kick things off, think about this. Tamil Nadu's Chief Minister M.K. Stalin
Right.
recently accused the central government of using the NEP to impose Hindi, claiming it could seriously harm Tamil Nadu's educational progress.
Yeah.
What do you make of this?
I mean, it's a powerful statement, and it really brings to light the core tension in India's language policy.
Okay.
How do we promote Hindi as a unifying language without disrespecting the incredible diversity of regional languages?
Right.
I mean, this tension is not new.
Yeah.
This has been woven into the fabric of India
For sure.
since its very beginning.
Yeah. Okay, so let's go back to the source then, the Constitution.
Right.
Article 343 declares Hindi as the official language of the Union,
Right.
but it's not the national language.
Right.
Is that significant?
It's hugely significant.
Okay.
The Constituent Assembly made a very deliberate choice to recognize the multitude of languages spoken across India.
Right.
It wasn't about replacing those languages with Hindi,
Yeah.
but rather establishing a common language for official communication at the union level.
Got it. So you have this idea of unity, but also the recognition that it can't come at the cost of erasing other languages and cultures.
Right.
But then there's Article 351, which talks about the union's duty to promote Hindi.
Yeah.
How does that fit in?
Article 351 mandates the union to promote Hindi so that it can become a medium of expression for all elements of India's composite culture.
Okay.
But, and this is crucial, the Allahabad High Court clarified in a 1982 judgment that promoting Hindi doesn't give anyone the right to force institutions to teach in Hindi.
That's a fascinating distinction.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a constant balancing act at play.
Yeah.
So where does this idea of linguistic secularism that we see in the article come in?
Oh, that's key.
Okay.
So in 2014, the Supreme Court emphasized that India's language laws are designed to be accommodative,
Right.
aiming to secure linguistic secularism.
Right.
This means respecting the aspirations of speakers of all Indian languages,
Okay.
not just Hindi speakers.
So how does this play out practically? What are the implications of this linguistic secularism for policy or for individuals?
Well, it's about ensuring that no language group feels marginalized or excluded.
Okay.
Think of it this way. Imagine a student who wants to pursue higher education, but is forced to do so in a language they aren't comfortable with.
Right.
That's a barrier to their educational progress.
Makes sense.
And it goes against the principle of linguistic secularism.
Okay. That makes a lot of sense. And this idea of respecting linguistic diversity is also enshrined in Article 29
Yes.
of the Constitution. Right?
Exactly. It guarantees the right of every section of society, majority or minority,
Okay.
to conserve its own language, script, and culture.
Right.
It's a recognition that language is intrinsically linked to identity and cultural heritage.
So it's not just about communication. It's about something much deeper.
Way deeper.
It's about who we are.
Yeah.
Can you give some concrete examples of what this might look like in practice?
Absolutely. Think about the diverse communities across India that are actively working to preserve their languages.
Right.
Take, for example, the revival of tribal languages in Odisha, or the efforts to document and promote endangered languages in the Northeast.
Wow.
These initiatives embody the spirit of Article 29(1).
That's fascinating. It highlights the fact that this isn't just an abstract legal concept. It's something that's playing out in communities across the country. But what about the individual's right to choose the language of instruction in their education? Where does that fit in?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And one that the Supreme Court has directly addressed.
Okay.
In the case of State of Karnataka versus Associated Management,
Yeah.
the court ruled that students have the freedom to choose their language of instruction. The state can't interfere with that choice.
So essentially, parents and students have the power to decide, not the government. That's a pretty strong statement on individual rights.
It is, and this idea actually has parallels in other legal systems as well.
Oh, really?
The U.S. Supreme Court case, Pierce v. Society of Sisters, for instance,
Mm.
also emphasizes the right of parents to direct their child's education.
That's a really interesting connection, it seems like. This principle of individual choice in education, particularly when it comes to language, is recognized globally. Is that a fair assessment?
Absolutely. It speaks to the fundamental importance of self-determination,
Right.
especially when it comes to something as personal as language and education.
Totally.
Yeah.
So we've seen how the Constitution lays the groundwork for balancing linguistic unity and diversity.
Yeah.
But what about the potential pitfalls? What happens when this balance tips too far in one direction?
Yeah, the article highlights some important cautionary voices on this.
Right.
Justice A.R. Lakshmanan, for instance, warned about the dangers of imposing a language on anyone. He argued that while language can be a unifying force, it can also be counterproductive if forced upon people against their will.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Language is so deeply tied to cultural identity and personal expression.
Yeah.
Trying to force someone to abandon their language could lead to resentment and resistance
Absolutely.
rather than unity.
For sure.
Exactly. And another powerful perspective comes from Justice Krishna Iyer. He said, and I quote, "I am all for Hindi as a personal preference, but I am all against Hindi by compulsion. Linguistic militancy will alienate and divide, but federal pluralism is democratic sensitivity."
Wow.
That's a potent quote.
Yeah.
How do you interpret that in the context of this debate?
It highlights the potential consequences of linguistic imposition. The
Right.
alienation and division that can result from forcing a language on people. It's a reminder that a truly democratic society embraces pluralism,
Right.
including linguistic pluralism.
Right. And this brings us back to the national education policy.
Yeah.
It's been praised for promoting multilingualism,
Right.
but there are also concerns about potential Hindi imposition, especially in the context of the three-language formula.
That's right. The NEP advocates for teaching Hindi alongside other Indian languages and English.
Okay.
While this sounds good in theory, critics argue that it could disadvantage students from non-Hindi speaking backgrounds.
So how do we reconcile these competing perspectives? How do we ensure that promoting Hindi doesn't come at the expense of other languages?
It's a complex challenge, and there's no easy answer, but I think the key lies in recognizing that language policy is not just about words on paper. It's about people's lives and aspirations.
So it's about making sure that language policy reflects the lived realities of diverse communities across India.
Precisely, and it's about understanding that language is not a zero-sum game.
No.
Promoting Hindi doesn't have to mean diminishing other languages.
Okay, this is all incredibly relevant for you as UPSC aspirants.
Yeah.
This topic is practically guaranteed to come up in your exam, whether it's in the prelims, mains, or even the interview.
Absolutely. You could be asked to analyze the NEP's language policy in light of constitutional provisions and judicial pronouncements, or you might be asked to discuss the challenges and opportunities of promoting Hindi while safeguarding linguistic diversity.
And imagine getting a question in your essay paper on the role of language in shaping national identity,
Right.
or the impact of globalization on regional languages. This deep dive has given you the foundation you need to tackle those kinds of questions with confidence.
Remember, the UPSC exam isn't just about rote memorization.
For sure.
It's about demonstrating critical thinking, analytical skills,
Okay.
and a nuanced understanding of complex issues.
Speaking of nuanced understanding, there's one quote from the article that really struck me.
Yeah.
Justice Lakshmanan said, "A language is a tool, and it becomes counterproductive when it is sought to be compulsorily imposed."
That's a great point. It reframes the whole debate.
Right.
It's not about which language is superior.
Yeah.
It's about ensuring that language serves its purpose as a tool for communication, education, and cultural expression.
And that tool should empower individuals, not restrict them.
Exactly.
So as you continue your UPSC prep, think about how this idea of language as a tool plays out in different policy areas.
Right.
How can we ensure that language policy empowers all citizens regardless of their linguistic background?
That's an excellent question to keep in mind. And remember, you're not just preparing for an exam.
Yeah.
You're preparing to be future leaders of India.
That's
The decisions you make, the policies you implement,
Sure.
will have a real impact on people's lives.
So think critically about these issues.
Yeah.
Don't just accept the status quo.
Don't.
Engage in meaningful discussions with your peers, share your insights, and refine your own viewpoints.
And most importantly, never stop learning. This journey of preparation for the UPSC is an incredible opportunity to expand your knowledge, broaden your horizons, and develop the skills and insights you'll need to make a real difference in the world.
So keep pushing yourself, stay engaged, and never stop questioning. Now we'd love to hear your thoughts on this complex issue. Head over to the comments section and let us know, how do you think India can navigate this complex relationship between language identity and education?
It's a big one.
Yeah, in a way that fosters unity while respecting diversity.
Right.
It's a question that every responsible citizen, and especially aspiring civil servants, should be grappling with.
And remember, there's no one right answer.
Right.
This is about engaging in thoughtful dialogue, considering multiple perspectives, and developing your own informed opinions. That's what the UPSC is all about, not just memorizing facts, but demonstrating critical thinking and the ability to analyze complex issues.
Exactly. So don't be afraid to challenge assumptions, question the status quo, and think outside the box. This deep dive is just a starting point.
Yeah, for sure.
Keep digging deeper, exploring different viewpoints, and refining your own understanding of this critical issue.
There are tons of resources out there.
Oh, yeah.
Articles, research papers, opinion pieces, make use of them.
For sure.
And don't forget about the power of real-world observation.
Oh, totally.
Pay attention to how language dynamics play out in your own community and your own interactions.
That's such a valuable point.
Yeah.
Real-world experience can be just as insightful as academic research.
Oh, absolutely.
So be observant, be curious, and be engaged. This isn't just about acing an exam. It's about understanding the complexities of the society you're preparing to serve.
And remember, the UPSC is looking for more than just textbook answers. They want to see that you can think critically, analyze information, and articulate your own well-reasoned perspectives.
Right.
So use this deep dive as fuel for your intellectual fire. Let it spark your curiosity, challenge your assumptions, and inspire you to delve deeper into the fascinating world of language and its impact on Indian society.
Before we wrap up, a quick reminder that today's deep dive was based on a recent article from The Hindu.
Yes.
You can find the link in the show notes. We highly recommend giving it a read for a more in-depth look at this issue.
Absolutely. And don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more deep dives on crucial UPSC topics. We're here to support you every step of the way on your journey to becoming a future leader of India.
We love hearing from you, so let us know in the comments what other burning issues you'd like us to tackle. Your feedback helps us tailor our content to your specific needs and ensures we're addressing the topics that matter most to you.
Until next time, keep diving deep.